Chapter 8 October 19th, 1739. Jim pierced the yolk with the sharp point of a marsh reed. "What in creation is that?" Phaedra asked. "I use it to feed Omen. The yolk fills this part and drips into his mouth. See, it's hollow. All I see is that you're going to ruin that bird." "What do you mean?" "You're going to turn that owlet into a worthless pet. If he can't hunt for his own food, how will he survive?" "He's too young to hunt," Jim said. "Ain't natural. Bird was born to eat live critters, not suck yolk from a straw." "It's just until he gets big enough," Jim said. "Big enough for what? To fend for himself? Why would he want to hunt when he's got you to feed him? And even if he did want to hunt, there's no owl mama to teach him how." "I'll teach him," Jim said. Phaedra snorted. "Well now," she said, "that is something I would sore like to see." Jim vowed he would show her. He'd prove he could do more than sweep ashes and gather sweetgrass. He'd promised to look after Omen, and Jim kept his promises. When Jim returned from his third trip to the well later that afternoon, he was surprised to see Phaedra in the yard. The militia was drilling, and most of the other Mose residents were in the fields gathering dried corn. She must have come back to fetch her hat. General Rojas rounded the corner of the church, his dark hair sticking straight up in the air and his gait determined. "Now she's going to get it," Jim thought, ducking behind one of the pine trunks that held up the watchtower. Phaedra had sassed the general during his speech, made his little girl cry, and scared the Spanish ladies at the oath ceremony. But why was he smiling? Phaedra was tucking a stray palm frond into the brim of the hat, and must not have seen him approach. She jumped when he tapped her on the shoulder. "What is it?" She stood and faced him defiantly. The general cleared his throat. This was not going at all as Jim had imagined. "Go ahead and give her a piece of your mind," he silently prompted, "before she has a chance to start in at you." "There are times," the general began. "Here it comes." Jim leaned forward. "There are times when a man finds himself in need of—" "In need of what?" Phaedra said. "I thought His Majesty provided for all your needs." The general laughed. "It is true," he said. "I have come up very far in the world as a trusted adviser to His Majesty." He must have seen the skepticism on Phaedra's face. "In His Majesty's service," he corrected. "I have advanced through the ranks and now earn a good pay." He hesitated for a moment. "My prospects are good." "What does that have to do with me?" Phaedra asked. "Ah, you see, I'm getting to that part," he said. Phaedra waited, her head tilted. "I'm asking you to be—" "To be what?" Phaedra prompted. "To be my woman." Jim nearly fell over. The general fancied Phaedra? Phaedra stared at the ground. "It is a very lonely place, no?" the general said. "I could give you a better life. You could be the mother to my child." Phaedra looked stricken by the prospect. She raised a hand and waved it before her face, as though he were a fowl odor she could push away. "No." "Pardon," he said. "Do you know what honor I have just offered you?" "No." "Are you saying you refuse my offer?" His voice rose. "That's right." "I'll not offer again." "I should hope not." "You have a man here? Big Sunday, perhaps?" "No." "Ah, you like Indian men. Am I right? They're not to be trusted, you know." He grabbed her by the shoulders. "I am burning with desire for you." She pushed him hard. "You can burn in hell for all I care. If you're fire for real, I'd not waste my spit trying to save you." "You dare speak to me this way, when my people have offered you freedom, protection, and the salvation of true religion?" "I do," she said, "and I know some true religion of my own. Conjure curses that'll wither your manly parts. Your priests won't be able to protect you if you ever lay your hands on me again." The general scowled at her for a long moment. Then he turned on his heel and marched back in the direction he'd come. Phaedra gazed after him, hands clenched at her sides. The hair on Jim's arms tingled. He'd heard of such curses, heard tell of folks putting a fix on a rival or laying a dose on an enemy. Conjuration had two sides. It could be used to heal, but it could also do harm. It was powerful magic, and one had to stay on the right side of it. He was fair certain Phaedra was bluffing. But what if she wasn't? Jim started at a sound behind him. It was little Maria cooing softly in her mother's arms. "Makes you wonder, don't it?" Adine said. "Wonder what?" he asked. "What could have happened to that woman to make her so brave?" "Don't you mean peevish?" Adine's smile was sad. "You'll understand when you get older. Why did adults have to speak in riddles? It'd save a lot of time and vexation if they'd just come out and say plain what they meant."